This is not a good look for any organization out there. Now we're talking about Godsent, though. The CSGO roster recently benched Maikelele, and certainly he's been hyping up and actually been hinting at the fact he'd be releasing his side of the story, which I was very curious about. If you guys do know the history of Maikelele, certainly had a long and hard grind back to where they are now. Formerly, most recently, a team like No Chance. They were making their minor qualifier runs, and eventually now to where we are with Godsent. Unfortunately, so Maikelele has now been benched and teasing his side of the story to come sometime soon. In response to that, we now have Zehn and Maikelele posting 2 responsive Twitlongers, which certainly paint different pictures. They also mention different things about different players, and it's just overall for an organization looking very unprofessional. Both those tweets have now been deleted. Unfortunately for both these players, the Twitlongers and information are still out there, and it's very interesting. So in response to Maikelele teasing his side of the story coming soon, Zehn first posted his Twitlonger, and then we'll break down Maikelele's response with his own Twitlonger. And the fact that we're talking about Twitlonger, you got to imagine there's a better way to do this, but here is what might be the controversy of Godsent and what looks like might be possibly multiple issues with multiple players inside the team. As Zehn first off importantly claims he is speaking on the behalf of the entire Godsent roster and coach who kicked Maikelele. The roster knew going into this entire team themselves that supposedly Maikelele had what they call past issues, and he would be replaced if he did not perform up to par. He then lists a long list of what Maikelele did inside this team, including constant trolling, trash talking, even kicking cables off computers during practice at boot camps, and he would also lose his nerves and lose focus against better teams in opposition. In a very important instance where apparently Zehn had let Maikelele die without calling out the information, so days later Maikelele gets revenge and does the same thing to Zehn by letting him die without calling out the information. They also cited problems with burnout and even saying word for word they allowed Maikelele to scream his callouts because it was either he screamed the information or he didn't say any information at all. Then they further noted his downfall in stats and play, and also feeling the team cannot progress further with him still on the roster, and they were also afraid to even call him out because of his stature or maybe his standing inside the organization. Keep that in mind. They were possibly afraid to call him out because of his presence or of course his spot on this org. They maybe felt he had more power than other players. And then Zehn also notes he was actually working on his own personal anger issues and issues of rage while playing. So that is a lot to unpack, right? He first of all notes that he's speaking on the behalf of the entire roster, then lists time and time again a lot of different issues Maikelele has, not including his past issues, not including just his stat and his play fall off, but also a list of other things he did inside the roster to get benched. It is not a good look. Maikelele was actually apparently saddened and upset by this and posted his own response, where he denies threatening the team at all or having some sort of boss role above any other players that apparently they were afraid to approach him because of. He also confirms the revenge story where Zehn didn't call for him and he died, so he did it back a couple of days later to get that revenge, which in itself is very unprofessional. But you got to remember from Zehn's side, it was also unprofessional for him to let Maikelele die without calling as well, unless that was not on purpose. That was not clarified in these posts. He also fires back saying that apparently a majority of the team had issues also with Zehn's attitude, saying that Coach Devilwalk even had issues with him. He couldn't even actually criticize Zehn without being jumped on by other members of the team, and he almost felt depressed trying to handle him. Maikelele also says he felt the team couldn't move forward with a guy like Zehn, and apparently Crystal even agreed he was actually, because Devilwalk was potentially considering benching himself, it was either an ultimatum of removing the coach or removing Zehn. Crystal sided with not wanting to lose a coach, and instead he would agree to potentially replace Zehn. And poor Sticko in the entire situation, all he apparently was saying they should not remove Zehn because of RMR points. So at the end of the day, what we can take from this, I would say, in my opinion, with the information presented and the way that Zehn presented it, as if he was talking about the entire roster had these things to say, Maikelele's past accusations and accusations during his time with this team don't make him look good at all. Now, firing back, though, I would say Maikelele's response does drive some sort of controversy because apparently Coach might be on his side. Apparently Crystal might be on Coach's side, which means he's also on Maikelele's side. And we have Sticko, the poor guy, apparently being a middleman, saying maybe trying to be the level head in this entire case. And it makes you wonder, what is the hope for the future of this roster if they have all these internal struggles, where Maikelele even further accuses that apparently a good portion of the team still has issues with Zehn and his anger and his rage. So how are they going to work with that going forward? apparently they chose the lesser of two evils. That seems what they're trying to imply. They chose to bench they chose to keep the lesser of two evils, that being Zehn, instead of Maikelele, and now we await Maikelele's response. I would say the future of Godsent right now it does not look very good. It's very weird because I'm sure a lot of teams have these issues and they choose to keep them internal and not air them out publicly, and now we're seeing the exact results of doing so. What do you guys think about this one? Maikelele's full story apparently coming sometime soon about the controversy within the Godsent roster. Until next time, drink your water, drink your coffee. I'll see you guys back here sometime soon.